April 21st, there was an op-ed in the New York Times titled, "If Liquor Stores Are Essential, Why Isn't Church?" The authors, who are lawyers representing conservative organizations, argued that state governments had overreached by asking churches, synagogues, and mosques to not hold services. They claimed it was a violation of the First Amendment. I wrote a letter to the New York Times editor, and knowing how hard it is to get those published, I wasn't surprised I didn't hear from them, but I thought I'd share it with you. I wrote them, "It is clear that Mr. McConnell and Mr. Raskin are lawyers, not members of the clergy. Yes, it is sad to not be able to gather our people for Sabbath or Sunday services in our beautiful sanctuaries during this time of COVID-19. But my calling is to serve people, and that includes assuring their safety. Tens of thousands of churches across America are continuing to serve. We are offering worship services online on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. We're offering pastoral care by phone, Zoom, and FaceTime. In our mid-sized church in Virginia, attendance at worship is twice as high online as it was in person. We've created a care team that is checking in by phone with every member of our more than 250 member church. Our ministry is social and spiritual connection during a time of physical disconnection. It's possible that we may not be able to meet again for worship until there's a vaccine, but we are so doing church. Mr. McConnell and Mr. Raskin, let me assure you that church is essential. It's meeting in person and putting our folks at risk of this horrible disease that is not." They should have published it, right? I know, my friends, that we love and treasure our sanctuary, and we are so grateful to those of you who built it 45 years ago. But my friends, the church isn't the building, you are. There have been many times in UCR's history when you might have given up, gone under, closed your doors, but you didn't. We are here today. UCR is here today because of the people who kept it going. The Reverend Frederick Buchner, who I know I quote a lot, had this to say more than 30 years ago about going through tough times. He wrote, "To remember my life is to remember countless times when I might have given up, but I didn't. I haven't given up. And each of you, with all the memories you have and the tales you could tell, you also haven't given up. You are survivors and you are here." And what does it tell us, this surviving? It tells us that weak as we are, a strength beyond a strength has pulled us through at least as far to this day. So you, my friends, you've been a sanctuary for each other. And that doesn't have much to do with the building. My home church, the Unitarian Church in Westport, has the most beautiful building. I want to show it to you. It's set in the woods, and the sides are all glass. The sides of the roof were created by a famous architect named Victor Lundy, who created the sloping majestic roof as two hands praying. But he said, unlike creedal churches, Unitarian Universalists, thank you, Mike, pray with our hands open, and that's what you can see. Let's go inside for a minute. We're surrounded by trees in Westport on all sides, and we look upward through that beautiful sloping roof into the hills and Memorial Garden. But much as I love that church building, I felt like an outsider until the spring of 1992. One May Sunday, I announced at Joys and Concerns that I was pregnant with our second child. I was 13 weeks pregnant, and it felt safe to share our good news. And the next day, on Monday, I had a miscarriage. I asked our sabbatical minister the next Sunday to light a Joy and Concern candle for us and for the baby that was not meant to be born. And then the most wonderful thing happened. More than 35 members of the church sent me cards, brought us food, called us on the phone, sharing their grief, their condolences, and often for the women, their own stories of miscarriage loss. It was that May that I knew I was part of the church. It wasn't the beautiful building, it was the people. Now, you know, because you've read it in the papers or seen it on TV, that there are those across the United States, including in nearby Richmond, who are arguing it is time to reopen, that it is against the First Amendment to close churches. What I want to remind you, in the words of Dr. Robert Pearl in Forbes magazine this week, is we have to remember that staying home is saving lives because it is giving hospitals and healthcare systems the time to gear up. Staying home is not killing the virus. The virus is still out there. And as many are forecasting, without better testing, contact tracing, quarantining people who are sick, and social distancing, we're going to see a surge of new cases if things open up too quickly. Too many conservative churches have reopened. And in some cases, they're pastors who argued vociferously that Jesus would protect their followers from coronavirus. They've already died from this disease. In Texas last week, more than 200 clergy from a wide range of religions released a statement opposing the governor who's eased restrictions on church closures. These 200 faith leaders wrote, "For us and countless of our colleagues, the strongest demonstration of our love for our neighbors and of our role in helping slow the spread of the virus is clear. Stay closed. We affirm the spiritual and practical wisdom of suspending on-site activities until objective standards of public health and clear guidelines for safe gatherings have been established and fulfilled. As religious leaders, we affirm the essential value of our faith traditions and the life-saving wisdom of sound medical advice. Faith and science are partners, not competitors in the common good." And they ended it this way. "Our faith warns us about idols, including the idols that even our physical houses of worship can become. Our buildings may be closed, but the hearts of the faithful are open, in prayer, in song, in study, in acts of compassion. From the Israelites wandering to Jesus's trials in the wilderness, to Muhammad's sacred pilgrimage, our traditions have never centered on the fixity of mortar and brick, but on the openness of the human heart." Isn't that beautiful? Now, many of you, except for those of you who are new, remember that in December, I gave a sermon about becoming a 21st century church. And we experimented with a variety of technology during that service. I read you this quote, I'm going to read it again, from a tech company about what they predicted would be in place by 2025. I just want to keep you in mind, that in mind. This is what they said where we would be in 2025. They wrote, "Nearly every manner in which a church grower has grown accustomed to engaging with the church by 2025 will have an online component. Your congregants will give via an app. They will watch worship services on their computer. They will get news about what's going on at the church through mobile alerts. They will sign up for church events straight from their mobile devices and computers. They will respond to sermons in real time from their mobile devices and laptops." Kind of amazing, right? We're doing all of that right now. As our music director, Cynthia Young, said as we prepared our first stream service, 21st century church is finally here. And my friends, there is no going back. It is unclear when we will be able to go safely back into our church building for large gatherings. I am increasingly thinking, based on the public health data, that that won't happen until there is either an early, highly effective treatment or a widely available vaccine. That, my friends, might be more than a year from now. I know. That's hard to hear. But when we come back, we must continue to include people in our services who can't come to the sanctuary at 10 on a Sunday morning. More than 100 additional people are attending worship each week now with us. People who are farther away, people who are sick, people who have moved away from Reston but still want to be part of UUCR, people who like our worship services but don't want to get dressed on a Sunday morning. Some of you have told me that you kind of like drinking coffee in your pajamas and having your breakfast and watching me on your TV set. So I hope we will commit to obtaining the technology that will continue to make that possible when we are ready to reopen. It's known as hybrid church, and I can't imagine us doing anything else. As Maya Angelou said famously, when you know better, you do better. I know, my friends, that we all long to be together, to be in our church sanctuary, to see each other in person, to celebrate together, to mourn together. Oh my God, to give each other hugs. And I hope that can happen sooner than I think. But I also know that church isn't the building. It just isn't. It's each of you together creating community. And we are doing that from home as we stay safe and learn, as one of my colleagues put it, to pray in place. We need each other, even though we can't be together, maybe especially when we can't be together. We have to continue to be our refuge, our haven in the storm. So do it with me, my friends. This is the church. This is the steeple. Open the door. It's always all about the people.